Well, thanks guys for coming out, and thank everybody that's behind me, around me, everybody that's been out all day working, cleaning up encampments all over LA County. Since January of this year, over 1,400 encampments have been removed year to date by the state. We recognize we have a significant role to play in cleaning up the encampments as well. That said, we have thousands and thousands of additional encampments that have not been attended to all throughout the region, not just here in Los Angeles County, but in every part of the state of California. The state has provided unprecedented resources for cities, municipalities, large and small, to address the encampment crisis. In fact, we created an encampment resolution grant specifically targeted to encampments. This, in addition to the billions of dollars we provided for homelessness more broadly, we put a specific grant together that addresses the underlying issues. That's exactly the opposite of criminalization. It's called a resolution grant because it's a requirement before you draw down the money that you resolve to address the issue and the needs for services for those inside the encampment. The money then is distributed after we have an application filled out that says that you are going to contact people, support people, get them back on their feet. $144 million has been provided through the encampment resolution grants in LA broadly, not just LA City, but LA County and the COCs. This, in addition to roughly $3.1 billion of other resources. All told, $3.2 billion just in the last few years coming from the state of California to address the issues of mental health, substance abuse, housing short-term, housing long-term, workforce development, and subsidizing direct rents and supports. I'm here, as I often am. Many of you have been with me doing these kinds of cleanups for many, many years. I'm here on behalf of 40 million Californians that are fed up. I'm here because I'm one of them. I want to see results. I don't want to read about them. I don't want to see the data. I want to see it by believing it, by seeing people that are back up on their feet, and to get those streets clean, get those tents off the streets, the encampments off the streets, and to begin once again to feel pride about our state. And so that's why I'm here. Final point. I did an executive order with intention. We have cleaned up every hurdle for addressing this issue. I've been doing this so long, I've heard every conceivable excuse. In fact, the rhetoric around the excuses go back to the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. I keep hearing from folks the exact same language they used in the 70s and 80s and 90s a decade ago, despite the fact that we have cleared the way with conservatorship reform, which they've all been asking for, with a new paradigm for engagement called Care Court, which they asked for, with mental health housing, supports for workforce supports, next year, unprecedented redirection, ongoing $1 billion a year, July of next year, for housing and rental subsidies, $6.38 billion bond that was just passed by the voters, money going out the door soon. We're done with the excuses. And the last big excuse was, well, the courts are saying we can't do anything. Well, that's no longer the case. So we had a simple executive order. Do your job. There's no more excuses. You got the money, you got the flexibility, you got the green light, you got the support from the state, and the public is demanding it of you. And if this is not the most important issue, you're not paying attention. This is the biggest scar on the reputation of the state of California. This is it. If we can prove we can actually deal with this, they'll start believing we can solve a lot of other problems in this state. And so that's my state of mind. The state of California is doing more than ever. We'll continue to do more, but this will be my final words on this. If we don't see demonstrable results, I'll start to redirect money. I'm not interested in status quo ante any longer. And that will start in January with the January budget. We've been providing the support. Local government embraces those efforts, focuses a sense of urgency, we're going to double down. If local government's not interested, we're fine. We'll redirect the money to parts of the state, cities and counties that are. This, by the way, long-windedly, is not an indictment of LA City. In fact, I want to applaud Mayor Bass She saw a 10.4% reduction in unsheltered homeless last year, which was one of the most significant declines in the state of California. She's been a good partner. I'll be candid with you. This is more broadly an indictment of counties. And as a former county mayor, I intimately appreciate the role of counties as it relates to the service components of this. Counties need to do more. And so we're here with our hands out, open hand, not a closed fist. That said, if we don't see results, we're going to change our approach completely.
Governor, what exactly was in your executive order?
Well, we just said the state doesn't have to continue to provide unprecedented money to address all their concerns. They said they wanted reforms on conservatorships. They have it, but they're not even implementing conservatorship programs in LA County. They can't even set it up for one person. Say we don't have the money, the resources. How is that possible? When we provided $990 million just through the HAP program for LA City and LA County and the COC in the last couple of years. They say, well, we don't have money for short-term housing for people with mental health. How can that be? When we provided almost $400 million specifically for that. Well, we don't have long-term infrastructure dollars. How can that be when we provided unprecedented supports? The rhetoric is increasingly stale. This is not about criminalization. What's criminal is neglecting people that are struggling and suffering and dying on our watch. That's criminal. What's criminal is people don't have restrooms. What's criminal is people literally are putting their lives at risk every single night. People are found dead, stabbed to death. People are found shot. I mean, this is serious. There's no compassion in allowing these conditions to persist. And had I not put up all this money to address the underlying issue, to address the service issue, I wouldn't have said any of that. I would have said what they're saying. So with respect, this is not about Bass. This is not about the back and forth. Please don't make that. I appreciate there'll be a tendency to do that. But you guys, I look around. You've been here with me before this executive order on multiple occasions. And so this is not one of those political things. This is a sincerely held belief that we need local government to step up. This is a crisis. Act like it. And I am dealing with crisis after crisis. Wildfires in Northern California. There's 6,500 people right now on the Park Fire. I want to see that kind of urgency on the issue of encampments. It's not complicated. I'm not looking at LA County. Any county that wants to partner with us and step up with a sense of urgency that can demonstrably produce results, we're going to double down on our support. Any county that's not interested in that and is holding on to stale talking points from the 80s and 90s, we're not interested in continuing the funding. That's, again, cities can do their part. You can apply for federal grants, but the state's unprecedented billions and billions of dollars support, I'm not interested in providing that support and not seeing the results. I'm a taxpayer, not just the governor. It's not complicated. We'll send that money to counties that are producing results.
Governor, you said you want to see results on this, but with all due respect, you're talking about throwing money at a problem, but there's nothing on the other side for accountability. Show me the homes, show me the shelters, show me things that are built. They throw money at it all the time. I don't see new housing being built. I don't see camps with fences and everything else, with hots and cots and everything else that's up there that can take the people who are here 30 minutes before you got here and make sure we're not going to be here beyond.
Well, that's
literally going to put, when you say money and you say you want results, you want to see actual physical buildings being built along with people who house these people.
Of course. It's what I did with Room Key and Home Key. And I got the receipts on that. I could show you 15,000 plus new permanent housing units under the Home Key model just at the state level alone. But that said, what you just described was the expression of my same frustration in the executive order. I'm with you. We did accountability plans for the first time 2 years ago. You may recall I rejected the first plans that came back because they weren't ambitious enough. We've had 1 year to see the results. I'm not satisfied. And now with the executive order, with grants passed now being removed and all the other support and Prop 1 now going into effect with all the zoning reforms that are component parts of Proposition 1 and all the redirection of ongoing money, you're absolutely right. If we don't see specific results in the next few months, in a sense of urgency, we will redirect the funds to parts of the state that can prove to the great results.
More specific though, what you want to see from counties?
I want to see encampments off the streets.
Is it criminalization? Because that's
Why?
a big issue that
Why?
LA County
How is it criminalization? How is it? What is it? But no, no, but I'm offering this. No, I guess I'm asking you to ask them. Because no, and here's what I mean by that, because I actually reached out to a couple supervisors and said, did you read the EO? Honestly, I said, did you read it? And I got back 2 responses that said, we're doing a lot of good work. I said, no, did you read the EO? I said, what? But let me finish, because it goes to your question, which was a great question. I love the question. Thank you. I said, what about the executive orders about criminalization? It actually lays out a strategy that specifically says we've got to provide services and supports, and then it attaches an understanding of the money the state has provided specifically for those services and supports, including zoning reforms, including conservatorship reforms, including strategies so you don't have to conserve, called care court, including more flexibility with money that used to be only for mental health, but not substance abuse and mental health, including mobile reimbursements for Medi-Cal under our Medi-Cal mobile services, which provide $1.4 billion of reimbursement. I mean, you name it, they now have it. And then the excuse, well, is grants pass? Well, that's passed. So now we want to see results. No one wants to see criminalization. That's a lazy framework. And that's the binary people that don't want to do the job are going to try to frame. And I reject that.
But Governor, to follow up on that, what in your executive order specifically was allowable after the grants passed decision?
It was more directional. First of all, it directed Caltrans to do more. So that's why hold on. I began specifically in relationship to the executive order, referenced grants pass, referenced the protocols that we have established through Caltrans as it relates to 60 days of storage, as it relates to notification strategies, as it relates to outreach, as it relates to the encampment resolution program. $1 billion, the state. $0 4 years ago. $1 billion in grants for encampment resolution. 250 more million this year, 750 in the last few years, 144 million that's come down here. And then I laid out the framework that we've established under Caltrans, and I said we will provide technical assistance to any community that needs it to follow these protocols that are in line with the letter of the law and the spirit of our values in this state pursuant to grants pass. Through the Interagency Council of Homeless, I'll continue on page 3 now of the executive order. The point is, we laid out a marker, and here's the deeper point. And this is the point. Folks may choose not to do anything differently. They may say it's just too big, we can't do it, we got other priorities, other problems. They may say it's just not, it's the governor's problem, which is okay, they may do it, and that's fine. That's a decision that can be made. Here's what I get to decide. And it's a preview, it's just an expectation if that's the result. I'm going to redirect the money. It's not complicated. And I'm going to send it to people that actually want to get the job done. That's it. New scum? New scum. I can't remember if it was Kurt Yaling or Maurice Bignan that called me new scum in 7th grade. I don't know. One of them got kicked out of school. So that's something a man-child would say, someone who's running for attention.
Governor, are you going to be able to secure? See, part of it is this. You're talking about building facilities, building rooms. You're going to see those structures there with people in them. A lot of people are going to reject those saying, I want to live here off or whatever. Until you secure, is Caltrans going to secure these facilities?
That's a big part of it.
So where you do not get in.
Yeah.
They try to do it, they're going to find that bolt cutters and wire cutters don't work. Otherwise, what you're doing is playing whack-a-mole. They'll
Yeah.
be back here in 48 hours.
No one said this is easy. I was just at a site about 50 minutes away, and we had retrofitted that site, and I saw exactly what you saw. They had bolt cutters and broke these brand new gates that we spent a ton of money on. So now, I could just give up. I could go home. I could self-medicate and have a glass of wine tonight and talk about ways should be and the good old days in the 80s when HUD was in the housing business. Or I can call the head of Caltrans and say, we need to improve our locks, which is exactly the text message that I sent. So we're just going to keep at it. You're 100% right. It's a good observation.
Governor, what do you think of those people living in their cars? Some of them
Yeah. That's, I mean, look, it's part and parcel of these larger supports that we're providing. We have something called HAP. It's about $1 billion a year of discretionary money. The counties and cities want discretion. I respect that as former mayor and as a former member of a board of supervisors. Those dollars are flexible specifically for those kinds of instances. In addition to that, though, we're building the backbone, the infrastructure through the Mental Health Services Act, the $6.38 billion. And that's cottage setting housings, that's retrofitting, redesign, it's tiny homes. By the way, if you want accountability, ask the folks in San Diego County. I just took all their tiny home money. I sent it to San Jose. They were sitting on it for a year. And everybody's complaining. They sat on it for a year, so I sent it to the mayor of San Jose. So don't think for a second I'm overstating my desire to redirect and be more accountable. I, of course, need the legislature. No one's naive, and I will appeal to them. But I think they're frustrated as well. Yeah. No, that's part and parcel of our partnerships we have with the cities and counties. Caltrans does its best they can. There's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of zoning that's been afforded for those kinds of temporary shelters of sorts. A lot of communities are allowing that as of right within their cities. So there's different dynamics, different regulations, different zoning that we have to work through. But I just, look, guys, I'm not the mayor of California. I was a mayor before. I'm just not. And there wasn't one day, you can go back, I was mayor for 7 years. You never, in San Francisco, back in 2004, when we had the highest homeless count in California history, and we were struggling, never once did I use the governor's name. I never even thought about talking to the governor. It's the county's challenge, it's the city's challenge. Now the state's come in, we've flooded the zone, and all we're asking for is a deeper sense of urgency. It is not an indictment. These supervisors are friends of mine, like actual, like real life friends. I mean, I've known 2 or 3 of them for 15, 20 years. They come over to the house. We don't just, we're not just nice in public, but I want a sense of urgency. Urgency. I've been out hundreds of times, and I got a day job that, you know, there's a lot of stuff. And I'll keep coming back because I have to be accountable as well. And that's why I'm here. Hold me to higher level accountability. Caltrans has to do more. I get that. Thank you. I think we had, and they could talk more specifically about the outreach workers, but I think we had about 11 folks here. We put out notifications, by the way. You'll see right there, that notification expires tomorrow. I was about to clean it up. I walked back, realized that I didn't have the right to clean that up based on my own notification. There are other parts of this encampment where we had deeper notification. There's city here and a county, so you have different jurisdictions. So we have all of those dynamics at play. That's what makes this kind of a unique setting, because it sort of tweens all of these larger jurisdictional issues, state, city, and local, and we have to begin to build better partnerships. But 11 folks.
Governor London Breed said directed her city staff to offer bus tickets as the first service for encampments prior to offering shelter. Is that the type of services that you would like to see cities and counties offer to folks?
I mean, that's a service. I started that 25 years ago. It's called Home. Well, no, just so a little bit of background. I started that 25 years ago. It's called Homeward Bound. And we did that actually as a service. What was interesting about that is there was a deep desire for people to reconnect with families, and we didn't have the resource to do it. Interesting history there, may not be interesting to you, but it is to me. United Airlines started providing free tickets and miles, and that began the impetus for the program. It wasn't a busing program, it was actually a program through flights where people will reconnect with their family, and then we do a service component on the back end to make sure people actually connected with families. It's been a very successful program. But to answer your question, that's ready, fire, aim. Meaning that's not the first thing I would do, but I'm not the mayor, and I don't think it's the first thing she's doing. I know she's doing a lot. That city's very service enriched. It's a component part, but I think she was sort of expressing her own frustration as it relates to the enormity of the challenge she's facing.
I have a question. What do you say to those communities and those organizations who are taking it in their own hands to clean up the streets, clean up the encampments? They're doing this weekend.
Well, I applaud them. I applaud anyone who steps up and supports other people and helps get people back off their feet. none of us want to see people suffer. None of us want to see people die on our watch. And so I applaud the volunteers out there. I applaud the elected officials that are sincere about this, that are working hard every single day. What I don't applaud is the scale of the crisis requires a different scale of intensity. And what I'm challenging now is our intensity and our focus and the results. And so I just want to see more results, but I love seeing the spirit of citizenship and civics, and I appreciate people's support.
And the minority community saying they're the ones that are impacted more and nothing being done. They're being
Yeah,
affected.
well, and including those that are disproportionately represented, people of color in the encampments themselves, and that's so often the case, isn't it? And so that's another reason we have a responsibility to do more and better. How about that small business person that can't even open up his or her own shop? How about that mom who's with the stroller and can't even walk down the sidewalk and puts her kids at risk, or no longer goes to the playground or park because she can't even get to it? A lot of people impacted. But look, I've been at this a long time. I've been accused of a lot of things. But one thing I have been accused of is time and investment and energy into trying to address this crisis. What I am done with, however, is patience. I'm out of it. I'm done. And now it's not just an expression of frustration, because that's futile and that's pointless. It's an expression of resolve that we have tools, and I'm going to redeploy those tools, and I'm going to redirect resources unless we see more results. It's not complicated.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, guys.